All right, the first open OTA practice of 2023 in the books here in Santa Clara. Trey Lance, that throwing motion is more compact. Can say that with certainty after seeing him in person. The base also a little bit better. Kyle Shanahan talked about all of the mechanical adjustments after practice, and he said that Trey Lance, he wasn't able to grip a football correctly in that 2021 season after he broke the finger in week 3 of the preseason against the Raiders. So he really never was able to correct the mechanics. It was always kind of a rush behind the clock for Trey Lance, and finally he had an off season to correct it. Obviously the ankle injury last year, but that didn't compromise the throwing motion. So Trey Lance fully healthy out on the practice field. I believe 11 of 15 today. Sam Darnold also 11 of 15. Brandon Allen 6 of 6. But let me be honest, the stats right now, in training camp, it's going to be a little bit more significant. But right now, I wouldn't look too closely into this stuff because the 49ers don't have pads on, and they didn't do any 11 on 11 work today with helmets on. All players except for the QBs took off their helmets. They're easing into it at these practices, right? So most of the work was 7 on 7. I will say that Drake Jackson looks big, looks muscular. I'm hearing Drake Jackson up to 265 pounds. He played at 252 pounds last year. So 13 more pounds of strength on Drake Jackson. And it is noticeable out there on that practice field. Rookies, the tight ends especially physically looked the part. Braden Willis, Cameron Latu, the 2 drafted 49ers tight ends. I stood right next to both of them. Those guys look strong. Those guys look like they might be instant contributors for the 49ers. That's obviously what they want to pair with George Kittle. Braden Willis made one of the nicest plays of 7 on 7s. Little crosser from Sam Darnold was a low throw. Dove made a one-handed catch on it. Darrell Luter Jr. had a nice pass breakup. Sam Darnold threw a nice deep ball to Danny Gray, who had gotten behind the defense, but Darrell Luter caught up and he made the play. Just a nice physical pass breakup, everything legal from Darrell Luter, the rookie out of South Alabama. Then you had Isaiah Oliver, the 49ers nickelback, who they picked up from the Atlanta Falcons, and he's probably going to be the starting nickelback. Trey Lance went for a deep out throw to Chris Conley, speedy free agent pickup at wide receiver, the 30-year-old veteran. And throw looked like it was good, looked like it was on its way. But Isaiah Oliver closed a lot of ground in a hurry, made a nice, long, leaping pass breakup for the 49ers. So those were some of the highlights today. Again, the 49ers are going to be easing back into this. Christian McCaffrey was scurrying all around the field. Looks like he's setting the standard with some of his hustle. I like the energy out on the field today, and we got to see both Sam Darnold and Trey Lance working. It was first team reps for Trey Lance today exclusively. Yesterday, I understand that was the case too, but Kyle Shanahan says as Sam Darnold gets caught up with the playbook, because obviously Trey Lance is ahead of him in that regard, having already been with the 49ers over the past 2 seasons. As soon as Sam Darnold gets caught up, that will even out. Update news for the 49ers, Brock Purdy is expected to resume throwing the football next week, maybe even a little bit ahead of schedule, right? He had the surgery 2.5 months ago or so, and they said that 3 months from the time of surgery on the elbow was when Brock Purdy would start throwing again. That was the original timetable. Well, that was early June. He's going to be throwing again by late May if this next week timetable holds up. Purdy spoke today after practice, although obviously he didn't practice today, and he's saying that he's shooting for week 1. That's the goal. Kyle Shanahan even says that he's optimistic that Brock Purdy is going to be available week 1 against the Steelers. So while Lance and Sam Darnold battle it out here in the offseason, Brock Purdy waiting in the shadows, and we might have a training camp featuring Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, and Trey Lance competing. And hey, that's what the 49ers want. I think that Kyle Shanahan said it best. We have 2 quarterbacks. This is a quote, we have 2 quarterbacks who are talented enough to have been drafted in the top 5, and 1 who played like it last year, end quote. The first 2, obviously, Sam Darnold and Trey Lance, number 3 picks. The last one is Brock Purdy, who played like that number 3 overall pick last year. So the 49ers believe they're in a good spot in the quarterback room. Beautiful day out here. They practiced at OTAs. They're going to be back at it here in a couple days, and we'll be back here as the media next week after Memorial Day. So injury report, if you want a little bit more of that, Dre Greenlaw, I know I saw him at the Dwight Clark Legacy Series event with a cast on his thumb. He was out of that cast, but he didn't practice. Quantrez Knight had a cast on his right hand, so he was just watching, didn't practice. Brandon Ayuk and Juwan Jennings both in uniform, but they did not take part in the team drills, just some minor tightness, Kyle Shanahan said. So no Nick Bosa, no Javon Hargrave today, no Trent Williams, nothing surprising. Big time vets, not at OTAs. Expect to see them later in OTAs or at mandatory minicamp. All right, like the video, sub to the channel. There's your 49ers report. We'll talk to you very soon.